and we have Jana Gagnon from Blue Lake Rancheria. So Jana, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, everybody. Just want to make sure you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Feel free to interrupt me if my internet prevents good sound. Okay. Again, my name is Jana Gagnon. I'm the Sustainability and Government Affairs Director for the Blue Lake Rancheria Tribe. The Blue Lake Rancheria is one of 3 federally recognized tribal nations in ancestral Wiyot territory. We're located approximately 5 miles inland from the Pacific coast with lands that span the Mad River, a stronghold for culturally important, threatened, and/or endangered species that are anadromous. I mispronounced that, but you'll forgive me. I'm commenting by permission of the Blue Lake Rancheria Tribal Council, and I want to start with thanks to BOEM for its consistent convening of this intergovernmental task force dating back to 2016 and comprehensive inclusion of tribal nations within these processes. And broad thanks to tribal nations, state leadership, and agencies for the unparalleled collaboration to date, and thanks in advance for future collaboration. If done well, offshore wind can truly move the needle on greenhouse gas reductions. And for climate mitigations and the growth of the green economy, the Blue Lake Rancheria Tribe is in general enthusiastically in support of offshore wind with certain deployment components and regulatory guardrails. So first, I want to talk about tribally owned economic enterprises. The tribe is interested in joining with industry, state, and federal counterparts to create opportunities for tribally owned economic enterprise within this offshore wind build-out ecosystem. Tribally owned economic enterprise is several strategic layers above and inclusive of the more typical tribal preference employment opportunities, and the tribe strongly recommends that BOEM and developers create structures to iterate on tribal economic partnerships. The second piece is regional distribution grid upgrades for energy equity. The tribe is a recognized leader in microgrid and distributed energy resource development. And from our perspective and the overwhelming interest by tribal nations and others in microgrids, the need for electricity reliability, increased electrification of loads, and to move electrical systems out of sea level rise and inundation zones, the tribe recommends the offshore wind projects serve as a catalyst for regional electrical grid upgrades, both distribution and transmission grids, to deliver energy reliability benefits to the communities who are hosting this industry, weathering its impacts, and partnering on the supports to build it out full scale. Regional electrical grid upgrades are directly related to offshore wind energy projects and the wind resource harvested from the energy area. And the tribe recommends BOEM increase use of bid credits and/or other auction proceeds to deliver electrical grid upgrades within these wind hosting regions as a key community benefit. And in specific, as we've talked about so far in this meeting, to increase investment in host regions for these and other purposes, the tribe recommends increasing the total bid credit percentage to somewhere on the order of 50% of the total bid. The tribe also recommends requiring a financial commitment for the community benefit bidding credits. I also want to talk a little bit about the tribe's view on what we're calling phase 1 offshore wind builds. This in the Humboldt region and in other regions where transmission upgrades will be needed to export big power, there's opportunity, and the tribe strongly supports a phase 1. Here, it's approximately 150 megawatts of clean wind power that fits within existing transmission infrastructure. Phase 1 is achievable immediately and in parallel to the transmission grid upgrades necessary for larger power exports. 150 megawatts of new wind generation paired with probably energy storage could seriously improve electrical reliability in our region, reduce the use of and reliance on our tenuous natural gas connections, and potentially be distributed out to tribal areas that do not currently have access to the grid and/or have extremely poor electricity quality. An immediate phase 1 deployment could also increase investment confidence for port and other shoreside activities and allow for a reasonable ramp up and build out rate that avoids landing a giant industry in a region unprepared for it in terms of infrastructure. And by that, I mean supports such as housing, workforce development, childcare, medical services, affordable and zero emission transportation. All of these must be built in parallel to the wind industry and port side supports for that industry and the transmission projects. So the tribe is really concerned with helping avoid issues experienced by other tribal nations when fast-moving energy and other extraction industries suddenly overwhelm a relatively under-resourced region. And in those situations, we have seen all too often that, unfortunately, the federal and state capacities to monitor and enforce terms and conditions of permits are often not up to the task. So avoiding exploitation in these situations, including increases of missing and murdered Indigenous people, is a top priority, which we have great confidence can be achieved if deployment happens at a sustainable pace and benefits accrue equitably within the hosting regions through broad participation and appropriate protections. And finally, we need to talk a little bit about environmental adaptive management. This is a new ecosystem and a new type of infrastructure. The stationary placement of wind turbines and platforms allows for new research and monitoring opportunities. And the tribe urges BOEM and developers to embrace cooperative uses of this infrastructure to host data gathering systems and equipment as a part of adaptive management and to contribute to accelerated climate science. And in terms of environmental impact, those are going to be part of an iterative process, part of an adaptive management process. Things like secondary entanglement are important and serious, and preventative plans for addressing these kinds of hazards are important. And lastly, I'll say that these deployment components really underscore the need for regional steering committees that I mentioned earlier. That offers a coordinated approach to make sure offshore wind is done apace and done right. So thank you for your kind attention. These remarks will also be submitted as written comments within the 60-day comment period.
Great, thank you so much, Jana, for that update. I also would like to invite other invited tribal task force members to provide an update if you would like. So I'll pause a minute to see if there are any other tribal task force members who would like to provide an update today. Okay, Hank, I see your hand raised here. Hank Bernard, you can unmute yourself and provide an update.
Hi, thank you everyone. This is Hank Bernard. I'm the Environmental and Natural Resource Director for Bear River. And I want to say we pretty much concur with everything Jana just said. And I think the tribe's biggest frustration at this moment in time is that the consultation procedure doesn't take into account how the tribe functions. So there's not enough time. I have a brand new council. I have literally an entire brand new council except for 2 people as of April. And I have 2 months to bring them up to speed on all this and get their input and talk to the community. And we don't have enough time for our community to actually get enough input in before they respond.
Great, thank you.
We're preparing a written response from our tribal council, and we'll submit that in writing. But it is frustrating when we're trying to work with projects, especially huge projects, that we don't have the technical expertise in, and we have to consult with other consultants or technical assistance agencies.
Okay, thank you, Hank, for providing that update. I'll pause again for a moment to see if any other members of the task force, other tribal task force representatives would like to provide an update. Okay, seeing no hands raised, we will temporarily adjourn the meeting for a 15-minute break